Hey everybody, welcome to my daily updates channel where I share everything that I'm doing to run a business that just did over $500,000 last month in revenue. The way I always do these videos is I start them off with some YouTube comment Q&A. That's just to give you guys some value. Then I'll build and strategize in public for finally showing you guys some stats on my YouTube, Instagram, and my products. The Q&A is starting right now, and we're just going to dive right in and deliver as much value as humanly possible. The first question is from the Marketing Startup Co., who says, in my messaging, I've been focused on saving people time and money using automation to eliminate manual admin. Now, what are some ways I can make them money and help them grow using automation to eliminate manual admin? Or do you recommend focusing on something other than eliminating admin, like something that directly generates revenue? I think you hit the nail on the head here. The core determinant of whether or not somebody works with you is what is the return on investment that you are going to be generating them? Then it's how sure are they that you can actually deliver that return on investment? And then finally, it's also how hard do you make it for them to accept this transformation and return on investment? So you can formalize that into a formula where the amount of money you make with an offer is equal to ROI times social proof divided by friction. In your case, you're saying, hey, I'll eliminate some manual admin. That'll free up some time and make you more money. But it's kind of circuitous, if that makes sense. It's sort of circular, as opposed to, eliminating some administrative task and then freeing up more time and having them use that more time to generate more money. Why don't you just start by generating them more money? You'll skip all those steps and then make them way more in the long run. Additionally, the ROI will be much easier to understand. So you can think of it in that formula of ROI times social proof divided by friction. You can think of it as the ROI number goes way up. Also, the social proof number will go way up because it's much easier to generate revenue for clients than it is to, build super complicated back-end systems that only work on their particular business. Because revenue generation tends to be fairly standardized and simple and very similar across different verticals. Like, for instance, all businesses need to market, right? But not all businesses need your specific back-end fulfillment automation that does something for, the e-com client that you had, but won't work for anybody else. So I'd much rather work on marketing and sales because those tend to be stereotyped, similar across virtually all industries. All businesses really need them. Most people don't put as much time and effort into them. And then when I do sell something, I get to sell the ROI that much easier. Okay, next question is from the lovely The Real Gen Man, who says, Nick, I run an AI-augmented QA and software testing services company. We've been operating for 5 years, primarily selling to SMB, small to medium-sized business founders, CEOs, and CTOs. Our outbound is currently manual. We do a 3-touch cold email sequence with leads reactivated approximately every 6 months. LinkedIn connection requests and in-mails, both managed by VAs. Our booking rate is only 0.061% of prospects contacted, but 28.6% of the meetings that we do book become customers. As a lead magnet, we used a free 2-week pilot that included real QA delivery by real people. It didn't meaningfully improve bookings and generally attracted lower quality short-term customers. What would you do, to make a long story short? Okay, so this is a really interesting sounding funnel. I mean, we have 0.061% of prospects contacted turning into booked meetings. So the booking rate is 0.061, which means, I don't know, what is that? One in every 2,000 people that you reach out to essentially book a meeting with you. That seems really low. But on the other hand, you have a closing rate of 28.6%, where basically 1 in every 4 people that you get on a call with convert. If you think about it mathematically, then, if we have a 1 in 2,000 booking rate and then a 1 in 4 closing rate, your overall closing rate from a stranger to somebody that works with your business is around 1 in 8,000. So that might be pretty good if, you can reach out to 8,000 people for cents on the dollar. But for most people, it's probably pretty bad. It also takes a fair amount of time to reach out to 8,000 people. So don't worry, we can fix that. Your bottleneck is clearly at the top of your funnel. That means it's clearly at the people that you're, like, the very first message that you're sending. It's like the initial contact point. When I run cold email campaigns, I have booking rates closer to 0.5%, which means I will book maybe 1 in every 200, not 1 in every 2,000. Basically, my booking rate's about 10% yours. And the reason why you're getting this is you're probably just fundamentally misunderstanding what the prospect experience is like when they read your copy. What do I mean by this? Well, when they read your LinkedIn message or whatever, they're evaluating you on maybe 10 different axes simultaneously. What I want you to do is I want you to go on LinkedIn and I want you to see every possible thing that a customer might be evaluating you by. And I think, just as an example, I will open up my LinkedIn and show you guys. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of outreach now, obviously. I'm just going to show you guys the most recent one from this guy, Shamir. Let me show you guys my screen here. As you guys can see, Shamir, he downloaded some lead magnet, and so we sent him the link realistically. When Shamir reaches out to you, okay, here is all of the information that you are seeing. To start, you see the name, okay? Then you see how he reached out to you or how he's using LinkedIn. Then you see the last time he was online. If he is currently online, okay, accessing his thing in the last hour, I think this is, he has a little green bubble here. Then you also see his little tagline. You see the degree of connection. So if he's a first degree connection, second degree connection, third degree connection, whatever. Then you also see whether or not he's verified his profile. Okay, so what do I mean when I say evaluating you across 10 different axes simultaneously? I mean, when you reach out to somebody over LinkedIn, okay, what's happening is they are looking at your name and they're making a value judgment based on who you are. They're looking on how you're accessing LinkedIn and they're making a value judgment. They're looking on if you're online right now and they're making a value judgment. How long it's been, value judgment. Verified, value judgment. First, value judgment. And then your tagline here, value judgment. What that means is these are all little levers that you can pull in order to improve, ultimately, how people perceive you right off the bat. And that's before you've even showed them your message. That's literally before you've even sent them anything down here, okay? Before they've even sent you anything, you're already making a bunch of determinations as to the person. Now, I think Shamir is actually doing a pretty good job across the stack here. He didn't actually reach out to me in this instance. I reached out to him because he wanted to download one of my lead magnets. But he has more or less everything that you need. He has like a pretty clear name. He has what looks to be a little emoji afterwards too, which kind of makes him stand out. He has a fair amount going on the he's accessing it through his phone, but it's showing that he's online right now, which is cool. He's probably checking in every half hour or hour. His profile pic's pretty good. I would say the major issue that I have with the profile pic is just foregrounds not popping out from background. Notice how his suit is sort of darker toned. He has darker features in general. He's wearing a hat, which is also darker toned, and then his background is similar. He has a slight glow around him, which might just be JPEG artifacting, not entirely sure. A major simple fix might be just to change this from like a gray background color to something, I don't know, maybe some dark green or something, just to make him pop a little bit more. But this is good, right? This is good, the fact that he has that verified. And then, this is sort of 50-50, helping cleaning and FM companies increase margins through AI automation, founder at the TechMint. The reason why this isn't really all that great is because, all I'm really getting is that he helps people, presumably like me, if he's reaching out to me. So, I don't know, let's say I'm a YouTube creator, which I am. He might say something like, helping YouTube creators book more meetings or something. It's like, okay, yeah, no shit. That's why you're sending me a message. I know. So before we even get to the point, I'm like, okay, he's probably selling me something. I think what you could realistically do here, Shamir, and not like you're asking me questions about this. Obviously, this is a hypothetical, but if you'd watch my daily updates, maybe you could take a hint from this, is you could bury the lead a little bit. What I mean is don't just say helping cleaning and FM companies. Maybe have some outcome that you've generated. Generated XYZ for, a cleaning company, or generate XYZ for cleaning companies in insert location where you are attempting to reach out to people. Why? Because now it's not like, hey man, I sell people just like you, right? You're matching the title case, you're having some acronyms here. It's very salesy. Instead, you're saying, hey, I've actually generated a lot of money. Because there's a lot of people that say that they, help cleaning and FM companies increase margins. Very few people can actually show that they've helped cleaning and FM companies increase margins. Okay, so just right off the bat, you should do this. You should 100% optimize every single one of these steps. And if you do, Mr. Gen Man, you will immediately probably go from like the 0.06% booking rate to like a 0.1% booking rate. So 1 in 2,000, 1 in 1,000, literally you probably double the profitability of your funnel. However, there's more. In addition to that, what I would do is I would template out an outreach message that solves and answers what they're thinking about before they even think about it. What do I mean by this? I mean, the very first thing that somebody's thinking about when they get a piece of outreach is this spam? And so you can answer that question for them immediately, okay, within like 0.1 seconds of their eyes going to your outreach message, assuming that you've checked all the boxes and all these other things. You go so much farther. How do you show somebody that it's not spam? You personalize it. And so you need some sort of personalized thing at the very beginning, literally in the message box. And when I say in the message box, I mean like right up here. It needs to be personalized, okay? Nick, I want Fable to let me know, this section right over here, it has to be personalized. That then buys you the click. Okay, so it's like, Nick, love XYZ, man, chatting about you to other person or something. And now I'm like, oh, okay, this person's talking about me. I better take a look at that. Once you're done with that, the next question people are going to ask is, okay, so it's not spam. So who the hell is this guy? So then you need to answer the question, who are you? If you're not spam, then what could you possibly be reaching out to me for? And that's where you need some sort of social proof. So it needs to be something like, I generated XYZ for a business very similar to you. Literally, that easy. You could say, hey, Nick, love your content, man. Was just chatting to my brother about you, about your last video or something like that. Okay, now I'm like, hey, this is probably real. Let me give this guy a click. Then it's like, I work with what is this guy doing? Cleaning an FM company. I work with a cleaning company out in location. We just did $45 million last year. Reaching out because, and now I'm thinking, okay, cool. So it's not spam. And I know why, I know who this person is. Why is he reaching out to me? Well, I'm reaching out because I noticed you guys are running XYZ thing very inefficiently. I don't mean that to offend, but because I think I can make you another $20,000 or $30,000 a month in just a few days. Here's how I do it. X, Y, and Z. And then finally, the last question I'm thinking, the last thing that he needs to answer for me is, what do you want to do about it? So what, right? And so that's where it's like, could I solve this for you? Have already started working on XYZ in the background. Here's a quick example. If you're down, I could chat with you about this on a 15-minute call, solve all your problems for you, and then start working on it with zero management needed on your end. Here's a link. So if you just take those 4 steps, okay, and then just weave that into some sort of template that you send and maybe customize the template a little bit, your booking rate is going to go from like 0.061 to like 0.3, 0.5, which means you will have taken a funnel that currently closes 1 in 8,000 people and got it somewhere to maybe 1 in 800 or so. Put another way, you will 10x your revenue. And so if you do this and then you 10x your revenue, circle back and let me know. I'd be very curious to talk about it and maybe weave it back to this video. Okay. Nick, I wanted to ask, do you intentionally keep the videos in your main channel unedited? Absolutely. Nick, I got a question about time management. When I schedule tasks with fixed time blocks, what happens is a lot of the time allocated for that task is over, but it isn't finished, and I feel like I haven't done enough. This leads to me working on it more, so working past the block means other tasks that day don't get done, and things start piling up or getting delayed. Do you think I should just stick to the allocated time no matter what, even if the task isn't finished? I was thinking Parkinson's law might help with this, but how do you usually go about scheduling your day in general? Yeah, so I don't do it based off of time boxing right now, but I have done it based on time boxing in the past. And generally speaking, I will just like front load my most high ROI, nearest to revenue generation tasks. And then I will just take however long it takes for me to finish them. But in general, what I will do is I'll do it a few times and then I'll say, okay, how long did this take? And then I'll start saying, okay, how fast could I actually do this if I was operating at full potential and I had optimized the entire process? And then I'll use that as like my goal time metric. So for instance, the first thing I do every morning when I wake up is I'll respond to somewhere between 70 to 100% of all of the comments inside of Maker School, which is my 90-day accountability program, my community where I guarantee your first customer. And I do that because it's the closest thing that I have to just like pure revenue. Every comment, every post that I reply to makes me a certain amount of money. I should probably do the math, but it probably makes me like $100, which I know sounds stupid, but it's like, they take 30 seconds to a minute to leave and then I make $100. Not bad. So that's the nearest term thing I have to revenue. It gets me reviews. It gets me positive goodwill. It minimizes churn because it buys me a few more months of people when I touch them. So so obviously I want to front load that and do that. But in your case, maybe it's like, sending LinkedIn DMs like, the fellow that I was just talking about earlier was doing. So maybe the first time you do it, it takes you 3 hours. Maybe what you do is you video record yourself doing it. And then you watch that and you say, how much of that time is actually necessary? How much of that time is wasted? Then you have this goal in mind where you're like, okay, I can probably do this in like 30 minutes. And then what you do is every day you just time and you watch yourself get closer and closer and closer to 30 minutes. This is sort of like time. It's not time blocking, but it's sort of like time blocking. You have a goal metric in mind, a KPI, and then you just slowly get closer and closer towards it on a daily basis. And now you are operating not based off of a time box, but you are operating based off of an ideal. You still get everything you need done within that time period. And then, you can move on. The key to this is productizing your day and just doing the same set of actions over and over and over again. If you are always bouncing around doing different things, it's obviously going to be a lot more difficult to get really good at any one thing. But yeah, I tend to just do the same things every day, which is why I can get really, really good at it. These comments are all bots. Hey, Nick, nah, I'm not falling for this one. Sure. So you think so? Your daily updates are awesome, Nick, says Wayne Downing. I hope most people recognize the value. Giving strategy talks literally daily is pure gold. Thank you. Prince Solano says, Nick, are you open to doing a challenge to build an AI business from scratch without using your fame, showing exactly how you'd start from picking a niche, making cold outreach, getting book calls, and closing it? Be an interesting video if you're open to it. Yeah, I've done something like this before. I mean, I still used my face, but I just continued pitching people until they hadn't heard who I was. And then those are the people that I took forward through the sales process, and actually ended up closing a couple of deals. And then I posted the deals right here. I had a few people reach out to me immediately after saying, hey, I noticed you published a bunch of stuff without my permission. I want you to take it down. I'm going to sue you. One of them was using language that heavily implied he was going to sue me. So I did pull it all down. So it's kind of annoying. I would like to be able to do that sort of stuff. But you also have to understand that I follow a very specific set of steps here. Everything it's not faceless. It's with my face. For instance, I, will do outreach on platforms like Upwork, let's say. These require by law me to use my face. I'll do sales calls funnels. So all of my funnels for any sort of service that I provide will always include me on a sales call. And so there's just a lot of opportunities where people know who I am. And I don't mean to say that I'm super popular and everybody's always going to know who I am. But think about it. You jump on a call with me, I pitch you something, you go, that guy's really, really good. Holy shit, he's way better than most of the other freelancers. What's his name again? Googles you, sees that you're some big YouTuber. That's probably going to impact the probability of me getting the deal, right? So unfortunately, it's very difficult for me to do this in practice. And that's not even accounting for the fact that it is also a lot of time on my end to ultimately make a video that most people will probably scroll through in their feed and not even click on. You got to think about the ROI. In my case, I have the possibility of getting some sort of legal action against me if I were to post all this potentially sensitive customer data on the internet, which I've tried to do transparently and failed at multiple times. And then also, how many of these calls and how much of this whole thing do I need to do to get to that point where I'm actually showing you guys a good video to begin with? How much does that actually make me versus just recording a 4 to 6 hour course, which I'm very good at and which I can go very deep on. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, I would prefer just to tell you all the stuff that no other person on YouTube is going to tell you about. So that is why you don't see a lot of that. Also, you obviously don't see a lot of that because people just don't know how to do it. But yeah, if you want to go back through my old videos, you'll find real Loom videos that I've done, real outreach that I've done, and then can make your own determinations there. Can you share your birthday? I've talked about it before on the channel. I'm not going to because I just don't want to get doxxed any more than I already have. Mahad says, Nick, I know you're against building a personal brand when starting out, but what if I just document my journey, like daily outreach, cold calls, wins and losses, etc.? I know it won't help much with lead gen short term, but I think it'll compound massively long term. At 17, if I consistently build an audience for 1 to 2 years, it can make selling future products and businesses much easier and help me scale my AI agency that much faster. Iman Gadzi did this. Now his personal brand gives him leverage for basically anything he launches. Feel free to roast me if you think I'm going in the wrong direction. The unfortunate reality is it's never either or. The decision that you're thinking about in your head is, I can either achieve success without documenting, or I can achieve success with documenting. But the very act of documenting will take time away from the day that you would have otherwise spent achieving success. What I mean is these YouTube videos or Instagram videos or TikToks that you want to make, that you see all of your friends and successful people on the internet make, that look really glamorous and sexy. You don't just snap your fingers and make them, right? It'll take a fair amount of time for you to get to the point where you can actually create one of those things. And oftentimes you'll be so focused on minor narcissistic things I got to make sure my hair looks good for the video or my audio looks like shit there, that you'll find you'll end up spending an hour or 2 a day just doing stupid video shit that gets 3 views. You don't have anything impressive enough about yourself to warrant making that video in the first place. And I don't mean that to offend. I just mean, you're going to be 17 years old talking about how to automate a business process to some dude in his mid-30s or mid-40s. He's not going to really give enough of a shit to click on your video. There's a million other people at your exact stage talking about the same things, and there's just no real signal in the noise. So the only other people that are going to watch your shit are 17-year-olds that are in the same shoes. And then, yeah, you're just going to end up spending a bunch of time, placating a bunch of other people your age. That's more validation seeking than it is effective business strategy. So what I would recommend you do is just achieve something that puts you in the top 1% of people within maybe your age bracket or something, at least top quartile. And if after achieving it, you find that your scale is not at the point at which you want, then maybe make videos talking about it. But don't do it before. Don't do it before. It's just ultimately a waste of time. And I say this as somebody that has seen thousands of people give this a try and then unfortunately miserably fail. Okay, I got to jump on a call with Jack Roberts. Unfortunately, realizing I'm 5 minutes late to this, so I think I'm going to have to cut this Q&A short. Aside from that, yeah, tracking is going pretty well. On Maker School's end, we have 2,429 people as of today, which is pretty awesome. So I'm just going to make a note on 2,429. And then Also, I hit 500K on YouTube, so that's kind of neat. Yeah, we just did hit 500K. So 500,000, 183. Just going to sign off with that. I know I've skimped on the tracking. I'm just juggling a bunch of stuff right now with the, being back home and stuff. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll catch all y'all tomorrow.